Scarborough sensation in the Hockey for Youth program, Brittany Morrison. So classrooms, I mentioned you'll be introduced in a bit. By way of introducing our Prime Minister, two things. Mo, whenever you speak about hockey, it's usually through a veil of tears, one for the game, but one for the fact that your mom and dad got to come from Uganda in 1972. And our Prime Minister's father was Prime Minister in 1972. What had happened is Idi Amin was a dictator who in 1971 said a dream had told him to get rid of all the people of Asian descent in Uganda. And so it was an ethnic cleansing, and it left thousands without homes. And Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, at the same time Paul Henderson was scoring for Canada, he was acting to welcome all of those Ugandans who were left stranded to our country. One of the families was the Najak family. Shirelli now produces Hockey Night in Canada, runs the thing. Another is the mayor of Calgary, Nahid Nenshi. His family came from Uganda and Tanzania that Mr. Trudeau welcomed so many people. Another negotiated the $5 billion deal that resulted in where Hockey Night in Canada shown on TV. So it was a monumental. And Prime Minister, I remember you telling me a great story. We lost your dad on September the 28th, 2000. I was working the Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia, and you were preparing the eulogy. And you told me that you were watching, the television was kind of on in the background as you were sitting and thinking of your words and ordering your words. And there was the stadium with all the flags draped around the oval. And you said, my father, he has friends in every country on the rim of the oval of the Olympic Stadium. That is unbelievable to me. And you gave the most beautiful homage to Papa. And what really strikes me is that's 2000. Within 8 years, you're a member of Parliament, and within a decade and a half, you are Prime Minister of this great country. So you are cut from the same cloth. Would you please welcome all students, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada. Mr. Trudeau, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ron. Hello, everybody. Merci pour ces présentations et un grand merci à Sarah, Bryant, Mo et Brittany de nous avoir aidés à organiser l'événement aujourd'hui. Aux étudiants partout au Canada qui sont des nôtres, merci d'être là. But thank you most of all to Willie for bringing us all together to talk about these important things. Ron, thank you so much for reminding me of that story. But the key was just seeing all those flags and seeing the Canadian flag at half mast was the thing that that really brought it home. 21 years ago now. But it's all part of history and part of remembering that we still have a lot of work to do to make a better present and a future for everyone, and every generation recommits itself to a better future. Willie, it is so great to see you again.
And you too.
Thanks. Well, listen, when you visited us here in Ottawa in 2018, you gave me a signed hockey stick that hangs in my office in Parliament. And I'll tell you, there's on either side of my desk, two very Canadian things, a paddle from a canoe and your hockey stick. And people sort of come in, and especially people who know me sort of say, okay, Justin, we know you're a big paddler, and the canoe, the paddle, I get it. But it's great to see you have a hockey stick, but there must be a story because it's probably not yours. You were never a big hockey player, Justin. And then I get to tell them how you came and brought me that hockey stick. And for me, it represents, yes, our national game, but it also represents so much of the work that we get to continue to do together. And we need to do together to make sure that our game and our country includes everyone. And that for me remains at the center of what we have to be doing as a country, what we have to be remembering. But on a personal level, that hockey stick is a symbol of your incredible strength and perseverance, and always a daily reminder for me of the work ahead of us in our continued fight against racism and discrimination.
Well, it was a pleasure and an honor to see you. And it's always great to be involved with hockey and work with the boys and girls in Canada and United States. So it's going on to my 25th year, and I still have fun. I still have fun with these boys and girls, and I just want to set a point that these boys and girls need to stay in school. They need to keep their grades up. You can't go anywhere in the world today without an education. It's so very, very important. And a couple of things, feeling about yourself and liking yourself are two great things. And I've always told these boys and girls, you can do anything you set your mind to do if you feel strongly within your heart and within your mind. And it's true.
Well, Willie, your example and your determination is what is inspiring all these young people, but Canadians and people across North America of all ages and all backgrounds. Because that idea of setting yourself a dream and following it up. You promised yourself at age 14 that you'd make it to the top of the hockey world, and you achieved that dream, and then went on to do so much more, being the first Black player in the NHL, blazing the path for others during 21 years of professional hockey. The Lessons from Willie initiative that you're talking about, which aims to spark conversations on social justice and racism, highlights not only what you overcame, but how much you inspired the next generation. As the documentary shows, and I was glad to be able to see an advanced copy of it, it wasn't an easy road. You experienced racism and discrimination on and off the ice, but you never gave up because you believe that hockey is for everyone. And even as you were fighting the discrimination that exists, you were fighting it with a disability. And I think that's an important message as well. The fact that you lost the sight in one eye and continued to play for 2 decades at the professional level is something that kids across the country can relate to, regardless of their background, regardless of their studies, other challenges. From Vancouver to Inuvik to Fredericton, hockey brings Canadians together, and there's no place for racism or discrimination of any kind in Canada's game. The change we demand in our hockey rinks, just like in our communities, starts with the kinds of conversations like the ones we're having today. We need everyone, educators, coaches, parents, students, and allies, to play an active role to ensure that our game and our country are more inclusive. We've come far, but there's still much more we have to do. So Willie, we'll keep building together on the great work that you've championed for so many years. You are a living legend, Willie, and a true Canadian hero. Thank you for all you've given to our country and to our young people who follow in your footsteps. Now, I know Ron likes to be the one asking questions, but I wanted to kick off today's discussion with a question for you, Willie. You've led an extraordinary life in good times and in tough times. You've stayed strong, determined, and you kept believing in yourself. Well, right now with COVID, all of us are living through tough times, and it's hitting young people particularly difficult on top of all the other challenges that come with being a young person. What advice do you have to help make it through these tough times and the tough times that inevitably do come in life? You've got so much to share. I can't wait to hear from you.
Well, you always have to think positive, and you have to believe in yourself and feel good about yourself and like yourself. And I always tell these boys and girls, you can do anything you set your mind to do if you feel strongly within your heart and within your mind. And it's so very, very true. But you have to work hard. There's no substitute for hard work. If anybody tells you there is, they're lying to you. You only get out of a thing what you put into it. And if you work hard, then you should pat yourself on the back, because that's all we can ask of you. But you have to say to yourself, use these 3 words: choices, decisions, and consequences. You use them every day. You may not realize it, but you use them every day. And I think if you take a look at these words and the meaning of them, I think that'll help you in your daily life. And I just want to, express my thanks to these boys and girls that I've had the pleasure of seeing and doing clinics with, speaking at schools and boys and girls clubs and everything. It's just been a joy for me. And I can honestly say that I'm looking forward to, after this virus, getting back on the road and helping these boys and girls attain their goals.
Prime Minister, merci beaucoup. We will have a question for you, one more. I can't believe we even got you to join us with all that you have in your life right now.
You didn't, Ron. Willie did.
Willie did. Yeah, that's right. That's like the Old North Church. I remember we went to visit the Old North Church and we thanked the minister for putting on a service. No, we don't do it for you. We do it for the Lord. So it was kind of the same. Hey, Willie, look, I have my Freddie Beach t-shirt here.
All right.
And so that's your neck of the woods. And honestly, The story of Willie, everyone, he grew up, his pals were Italian and Irish and Lebanese, and he was, it was a really great melting pot, Fredericton. And maybe the two black families, the Lawrences and the O'Rees on the one street there. And you were great at everything, great at every sport. And I think the children should know, if they don't, maybe they obviously saw. 13 years old, the West Enders win the ball title, and bingo, you're going to meet Jackie Robinson. So just tell us about being a boy in Fredericton and about that unbelievable opportunity.
Yeah, well, I was the youngest of 13 children, and I played 5 or 6 sports growing up, and the two I really fell in love with was baseball and hockey. And at the age, as you mentioned, at the age of 14, I decided I wanted to become a professional hockey player. And thanks to my older brother, Richard, who was not only my brother and my friend, but he was my mentor. And he taught me a lot of things that I would need to know if I was going to choose hockey as a career. So I left my hometown at 17 and went up to Quebec to play my first year junior. Phil Watson was the coach and general manager of the team, the Quebec Frontenacs. I played that year. The second year I went and played in Kitchener, Ontario. It was a farm team of the Montreal Canadiens. And as you know, that's when I lost sight in my right eye. I was struck in the puck with the right eye, and went to the hospital. The doctor, Henderson, told me that I was going to be blind in my right eye and I'd never play hockey again. Well, I just couldn't accept that, Ron. And the thing was that I still had one good eye, and I said, so I got back on the ice, and I said, I'm going to prove this doctor wrong. And so I went out and started playing again. And as you mentioned, I was able to play pro hockey and even play with the Boston Bruins in 1958, 60, and 61. Due to the determination, and I just said that I had one good eye and I hadn't attained my goal. And I went out and played hockey for 21 years. So I just want to emphasize again that you boys and girls can do anything you set your mind to do, but you have to feel within your heart, within your mind. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right. And there's a lot of truth to that.
Fantastic, Willie. So as you can see, we now have a Hockey Night in Canada hot stove happening here, and these are all questions. Let me just see. Brittany, do you recognize that photograph? Yeah, you should recognize that. Here's another. There's the group going over to the game at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. You and Mo and everybody enjoyed. Well, you didn't enjoy the final result unless you're a Minnesota fan. Maybe you are, with Matt Dumba being such a great ambassador for what we're doing here. But go ahead, tell us your story, Brittany, and how Willie's inspires you.
I think I've met Willie in 2018 for the first time, and I've also had the honor of receiving the Willie O'Ree Award. And for me, I came to Canada in 2017, and a teacher introduced me to the sport, and I got on the ice. I met Mo, all these fantastic coaches, and I think what even for me, like when I came on the ice, it was so fun. You know what I mean? Like I was so determined. For me, I'm a really determined person when I set a goal. So my goal the first day I went on ice was not to fall, because I saw everyone around me just, flibbering all around. So my goal was not to fall, and I came off the boards and I went straight into the middle of the ice, and I was just skating. And I think hockey has brought me so many great opportunities, like right here right now, and I really just love the sport, love going out there skating on the ice. And also Hockey for Youth really just does a really good job of making sure that the sport is inclusive and accessible to minority groups.
It's fantastic. Moazine, it's your program. Mike's yours.
Yeah, Ron, thank you, first of all, for giving that history of our family coming to Canada, courtesy of Prime Minister Trudeau's dad. I'm going to answer a little bit in French, en français, mais Hockey pour les jeunes, c'est un programme qu'on a commencé en 2015, parce que les jeunes nouveaux Canadiens et les jeunes qui sont à risque, ils n'ont pas accès au hockey. Et c'est un programme gratuit grâce à notre partenaire Bon Départ. Et maintenant, on a 5 programmes au Canada. On a 8 programmes au Canada. On a 5 programmes à Toronto, 2 programmes pour les filles à Ottawa, et puis un programme à Montréal. Et on a un plan pour faire l'expansion au Canada. When my parents came to Canada in 1972 as refugees from Uganda, I was born in 1977, and I was given hockey equipment at the age of 6 by a neighbor where I grew up in Vancouver. And that was really the first step for me in my journey in hockey. And I got a chance to play up at the University of Northern British Columbia in Prince George. I've been in Toronto for 10 years now. And what Brittany said about accessibility, that's what's critical. And when I think about someone like Willie, who I've known now for 13 years, I mean, he's an inspiration for the program. You know, my parents who came to this country with nothing, Ron, you touched on dads the other day and you talked about Justin's dad. I just lost my dad in December. And these are the people that are inspiring us to do better, to make a better future. And so that's what we do at Hockey for Youth, right? It's really important about gaining access, and that's the critical thing. Doing things on the ice is important, but off the ice, we promote technology learning, entrepreneurship, arts, community giving, and healthy active living. And these are critical skills that these kids need. They need opportunities, and that's what we're doing. And I'm just following Willie's lead. That's pretty much what I'm doing.
Grateful, Mo, for you sharing that, and our condolences and my love for your dad. When I saw Tony Brar and Harner Ryan Singh, as you know, is doing play-by-play in English on HockeyNet in Canada, and I think of their parents coming to Canada. Barack Obama's one and only interview in Canada this year was with Matt Galloway on CBC's The Current, and he talked about the Beatles hit Michelle in '65. Bryant, you're Chicago, where you're born that year. In '65, Michelle is #1 on the charts, and Michelle Obama, her parents are listening to that song and looking at their 1-year-old daughter. And could they have ever imagined that Paul McCartney would sing to her as First Lady of the United States of America in the White House all those years down the line? And that's what I get tears like that watching Harner Ryan Singh do play-by-play, and what you do for hockey, Mo, same thing. Sarah, welcome. Beautiful to have you. You just maybe tell students your story and again, your connection to Willie and to today.
Yes, well, I mean, like Mo, I'm just here to follow in Willie's footsteps. He's created such an incredible path for all of us as hockey players that I think is so important. I'm a 2018 Olympic silver medalist with Team Canada's national women's hockey team, and I've been playing hockey since I was 5 years old. I fell in love with the game, and it's something that's been so special to me and my family and my community, really. And I think the reason that I wanted to be involved with this was because the first time I was able to watch the film, it had such a profound impact on me. I was overwhelmed, I was emotional, but I was so inspired. And I think that Willie's journey and his story is not only important to young Black hockey players or the hockey community, it's important to the sports world and the world at large, because his story and his message of courage and resiliency and hard work needs to be shared absolutely everywhere. I think that his achievements on the ice are of course incredible, but his achievements off of the ice are just as important and should be absolutely glorified. He's had impacts on communities, on individuals, and on everybody. I think that playing sports is a privilege, and it's something that we can't take lightly. And I believe that people may not remember how many goals you scored or how good you are, but they definitely remember how you made them feel and the impact that you've had on them. And I believe that Willie O'Ree is a shining example of this. And if we can take his message, I think it's a powerful one, and we're going to be able to impact the world in such a positive way, just as he has.
Formidable. Prime Minister and Mo, if ever you wish to translate, if ever you see a nugget go by that you just think, boy, that has to be said en français as well, please, or just yell at me. Bryant McBride. Bryant, I deserve so much credit for Willie's work with the National Hockey League. It was your idea to bring Willie in to be an ambassador. That led to obviously the Willie Doc, and it leads me to the question, what do you hope that coaches, educators gain from the doc and from this program, Lessons from Willie?
Well, thanks, Ron. First, thank you so much for joining us, Ron, and Prime Minister Trudeau. Thank you so much for taking time and acknowledging everything that Willie has done. Yes, it may have been my idea, but Willie's done the work, and a whole bunch of other people have done the work, frankly, going back to the earliest days at the National Hockey League, and the commissioner's support, now Kim Davis and her team, but lots of names have brought us to this day, and I played a small part in that. What we hope, and one of the reasons we made the film, first and foremost, to honor Willie and all that he's done for so many people over so long. That was first and foremost. But we wanted to create a piece of scalable content. Willie has more energy than any human being I know, but he can't be everywhere. So we wanted to create a social justice film that also served as a hockey film. But in the core of it, in the guts of it, was a message that hockey is for everyone, and that hockey is a sport that that needs to welcome and to make everyone feel as though they belong. Right? We talk a lot about we talk a lot about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, clinical terms, but it's really about belonging. And the work that has been put into this effort for over all these years, it really stems from Willie and his energy and his never quit attitude. And it's that same work going forward that's going to be needed, frankly, to ensure that hockey is welcoming for everyone. And on an individual basis, we hope that educators, students will take the time to do the work, right? Posting on Instagram is great. Hashtags are great. All kinds of other things that show where your heart is are wonderful. But doing the work, really understanding the history of what got us here, of what BIPOC people have had to endure, and then doing the work of ensuring that we go forward with an aperture that goes from here to here, so that people's eyes are open and people's hearts are open. That's what we hope.
I would just say there, Ron, that that's so important what Brian's pointing out, right? We work with kids from 32 different countries of origin. We have kids from Syria and Vietnam and Ethiopia and Pakistan and Jamaica and Mexico who are learning how to play the game. But not only that, they're doing it together out on the ice. And that's what I think is important for a Canadian society, that these kids are going to be working together. They're going to be playing together. They're going to be, teammates in offices, and maybe one of them becomes the prime minister one day. But the idea being that what Brian's talking about and what Willie has done for us is really pave the way so that, newcomer kids feel welcomed. And the best way to do that is through the game that we all love. And that, we gathered here today to talk about that. So he is truly inspiring. What Sarah and Brian have said is outstanding, and Brittany as well.
Okay, Willie, the first question is going to be for you. We're going to now direct our attention to all the classrooms from coast to coast to coast. And we're going to start actually in Brian's hometown of Sault Ste. Marie. Honor you, Brian, that way. Yeah, you're happy about that. H.M. Robbins, home of the Red Wings, is the first school we're going to visit. The teacher in grade 5 is Jeff Christensen. And the student who has been selected to come to the front of the room and to the camera and microphone, hopefully, is going to be Chase. Chase in Sault Ste. Marie. Do you hear Ron McLean? And do you have your question for Willie?
Yes. How did you maintain your confidence while being bullied when you were playing a game?
Well, hi, Chase, and thank you for the question. Well, I just stayed focused on what I wanted to do, and thanks to all the work, and thanks to all of my teammates and all the support of my teammates, I just kept it in my mind, and I stayed focused on what I wanted to do, and I just worked hard.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chase, and thank you, Willie. So now we're headed up to the Northwest Territories and Yellowknife, where we hosted Scotiabank Hockey Day in Canada last year. Hello to Stu Impet and all the great people in hockey. Mildred Hall was the first English teacher to go up to Yellowknife and begin educating there in 1939. So the school bears her name. It's an incredible school for Aboriginal and Cultural Learning Center. Principal is Elizabeth Brace. Hello, Elizabeth, from Hamilton, Sarah, your town, and Prime Minister Wright. This question is going to be from Jason. Jason, you come right up to the camera and the microphone, and you have a question for our Prime Minister. Go ahead, Jason. Do you have the question, Jason? If not, if you want to say the question, or you want me to do it? There you are. I think I see you. Maybe on mute. I don't think so. Jason, can we hear Jason in Yellowknife? If not, Prime Minister, I'll ask the question because I know Jason wanted to know what Willie O'Ree means to you.
Well, listen, I think Willie, first of all, is an inspiration to us all. Someone who saw their goal and worked hard all their life to get it, and then once Willie had achieved his goals of playing in the NHL and playing professional hockey, he didn't stop. He kept going and he kept saying, okay, how can I help more people achieve their goals? And that idea of service is just as great as everything else he's ever done. It's a huge achievement to be playing in the NHL. It's a huge achievement to be playing in the NHL as the first Black player. But that wasn't something that he sat back on. It's something he then used and leveraged to make a huge difference. And I think that's something that ultimately has made our country's game much better. We all need to be able to see ourselves in hockey, and whether we talk about Hockey Night in Canada in Punjabi, or whether we talk about the extraordinary examples of the young players coming up from racialized communities, there is a real important thing in impacting kids across the country and around the world, and being able to see themselves in their heroes, in their role models. And Willie helped make that happen, but so too does his legacy and this program. How teachers and students and coaches across the country and around the world are going to be inspiring themselves to have these conversations. It's not always easy to have the conversations around race, around discrimination, around inclusion, around the challenges of disability and others. But being able to have those conversations through hockey, something that we're all passionate about, is really, really important. And it's how we evolve as a country, but also how we evolve as a sport. The NHL was certainly challenged, like everyone was, by the Black Lives Matter movement, by the need to step up and do more, to be better allies, to be better supports for all members of communities, and showcase the way forward. And Willie's voice and story is as important now, if not more important, than it's ever been. We've come a long way since the 60s in terms of recognizing rights, but we still got a long way to go. And for Brittany and Sarah and all the hockey players, all the young people who want to become hockey players, we need to do better work around supporting you, and Willie is driving us to do that.
Merci, Prime Minister. We're going to travel 3,470 kilometers from Yellowknife to Miramichi, New Brunswick. This is David Adams Richards' novel, Hockey Dreams, the senator now, David Adams Richards. What a writer he is. And I want to thank the Honorary Dominic Carty, Minister of Education and Early Childhood Development in New Brunswick, too, for the great work. Obviously, this is Willie's home province, New Brunswick. We're going to Max Aitken Academy, taking it to the max. Mrs. Erin Kingston's grades 7 and 8s with a question for Sarah Nurse, and it's from Jesse. Jesse, loud and to the camera. I want you to come up and speak to Sarah.
What skills do you think athletes possess that make them better prepared for certain challenges outside of sports?
Well, thank you for your question. I love all of the hockey jerseys. I can see we have a lot of hockey passion in New Brunswick. I think that hockey players, we're so fortunate in the sport that we get to play, that we learn so many skills throughout our athletic career that are so transferable to the outside world. I think skills like hard work, like resiliency, and like leadership are so important and really crucial to our sport and being successful. And those are skills that are so incredibly valuable in life. I think of hard work, and we look at Willie's story, and that's all he did. He was full of hard work, and every day he put in what he wanted to get out, and look at how far he was able to get. Resiliency, there are going to be so many obstacles that you have to face, not only in your sport but in everyday life, in school. And so how you handle those challenges and how you perceive them are going to be so incredibly important. And then obviously leadership. I think that we may think of leadership sometimes as captains or assistants, but anybody has the potential to be a leader. And I think that that's so incredibly important, because you have the opportunity to set a good example for your peers and have people follow your lead. You don't necessarily need to be a captain or an assistant. Everybody has the opportunity to lead. So I definitely think that there are a bunch of skills that you can take in your everyday life.
Sarah, Brian Trottier, the great hockey player you've met a million times. He always said, we can't always be the captain or the greatest player on our team, but we can be the best teammate. I always liked his way of putting it there. Thank you, Jesse, for the question for Sarah. Okay, one more question and then a final comment from the Prime Minister before he gets back to work. 4,175 kilometers to the west is Surrey, BC, home of the Bear Creek School. Teacher is Lori and Arju. Is that how you say the name? A question for Bryant McBride. Arju, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought. Go ahead for Mr. McBride.
Hello, Mr. Willie O'Ree. My name is Arju, and I want to ask you a question. Our grade 7 class has been focusing this year on social justice and equity. In your opinion, what is something we can do right now to help make our community a better place for everyone?
I'll take that one, Ron. Okay. That's okay. Arjun, yes. Good question, and thanks for being here, and hello to everyone out in BC. You know, it is a very individual pursuit, right? A lot of people were awakened by the results of as a result of the things that happened down here in the States, George Floyd in particular, and others, and they were left asking, what can I do to make a difference? And I'll go back to the thread that connects Willie's work very early on to the work that we're doing now and to the work going forward, and that is to reflect and look inward as to how like your parents, I'm sure, have said, treat people the way you'd want to be treated, make others feel as though they have a place and that they belong, and that the game is opened for everyone, right? This is a sport that has that for many years has been a melting pot, a place where everyone could contribute to a team. So, asking yourself how you can contribute not just to a hockey team, but how you can contribute in your class, how you can contribute to your family, how you can contribute to your church, how you can contribute to all of the organizations that you belong to. That's really the question. What can I do today to help someone expand their thinking, to be welcoming of everyone in every pursuit, and to provide opportunity for people, girls and boys, men and women who just want the opportunity to thrive. That's really what you can do individually, is to look to help at every turn.
Fantastic. Yes, go ahead.
I know this question wasn't really addressed to me, but I think what Bryant was really trying to get to was the point of allyship. And I think especially in 2021, that is definitely really important. We saw that with the Black Lives Matter protests, and representation does matter. And we see Willie doing all these things, putting, he laid the foundation for all these hockey players within the NHL today. And yeah, just a way to celebrate or practice, social justice, is being an ally to people in need.
Ms. Morrison, do you say Brittany or Brittany? How do you say it?
It's pronounced Brittany.
Brittany, that's beautiful. When I see you in the Olympic Games, I'll get it right. That's fantastic. Prime Minister, Anita Anand, the Right Honorable Anita Anand, is a member of Parliament here in Oakville, lives 6 doors to my right, and she is the Minister for Procurement and Public Services, and I go by her home every night until midnight. She is working away, ordering, whether it's masks or ventilators or vaccines. It's an incredible, and Adam Van Couverden's got you probably paddling the best in your life. Member of Parliament for Milton lives right here too. So I see how hard you're working during the pandemic. And again, gratitude from all of us for your time. Final word to you before we let you go back to work.
Oh, well, thank you, Ron, for, as always, your steady hand and your leadership in corralling so many different voices together in a united cause, not just our love of hockey, but our love of Canada and our desire to see it be better. And that's something that I know you and I have had many conversations over the years, and your sense of service and connection to Canadians is something that you've always put forward. And it's just so great to have your voice and your leadership with us here today as we reflect on Willie and as we look to the future. Willie, I just heard that they're going to be retiring your jersey at the Boston Bruins. As a lifelong Habs fan, as I told you when we saw each other, I will make a big exception and cheer alongside you in this important moment. I mean, even as I was watching the documentary, even though I knew the end and I knew you got into the Hockey Hall of Fame, I was still on the edge and excited when you did in the film and in real life, and all these continued accolades are important because they recognize your leadership as a hockey player, but also because they recognize your leadership after hockey, your continued commitment to boys and girls, your continued commitment to building a better world through better understanding and through playing a really important game to all of us. So that's an inspiration, and I'll say anytime I spend with you, I am charged up in what I get to do next, and that involves, of course, continuing to fight alongside so many other Canadians as we get through this COVID crisis. But know that you've inspired me every day with what you do. And to all the students across the country watching this, know that your ability to lead, not sometime in the future if you get into the NHL and if you become successful later in life, but your ability to lead right now is what we all need. I mean, we're in a time of challenge, of crisis with COVID. Your ability to make the right choices and shape the community around you matters. I know when you hear inspiring speakers and teachers, they might tell you that you need to step up because you're going to be the leaders of tomorrow. Well, I'd rather you thought of yourselves as already leaders today, because the things that you do, the things that you care about, the things that you push for in your school community, at home, or in your country at large, are building the right future for us all. Alors, continuez votre travail de rêver à un monde meilleur, de nous encourager tous, de continuer à travailler avec vous pour l'amener. Et on va passer à travers tous ensemble. We're all going to be better allies to each other, better there for each other, as we really make sure that we understand that the future, like the present, needs to include success for everyone and opportunities for everyone. And if you can be inspired by Willie the way I've been inspired by Willie, I know the future looks bright for us all. So thank you all for being part of this, and I'll let you get back to these great questions.
Merci beaucoup, Prime Minister. Vous êtes en forme.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Willie. See you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really great, Willie. It is unbelievable that your sweater's being retired. Jackie Robinson's, of course, is retired like Wayne's for the whole sport, but just for you to be the first American team as the Boston Bruins, one of the venerated original great franchises, and to have your sweater hanging is going to be just unbelievable. So next block, we are going to go around the country and just ask questions of you, Willie, and sometimes everyone, you jump in, Brittany, anybody. Mo, let's start with Willie, one from Yukon territory where I lived for 5 years as a boy. Did you experience racism among your teammates? Did you ever have it in the dressing room?
No, I can honestly say the 21 years that I played pro hockey, I was not experienced any racism in the dressing room. All the players that I played with were very supportive, and I was very thankful for that.
Fantastic. Manitoba. Now, Randon Chartrand, if you want to come forward, I can get you to do the question here. We're going over to Manitoba, and we were there in Peguis First Nation with Senator Murray Sinclair last year for Rogers Hometown Hockey, and the spirit of Manitoba is great. So I don't know. I'll ask the question if not, but Randon, you want to do the question? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
How do you feel about the NHL today in regards to different races and nationalities? Could you hear that, Ron?
Yeah. How did we feel about the National Hockey League and being represented by different nationalities? Willie, just the growth of the game, maybe. Me? Yeah, that's for you. Why don't you take that?
Oh, fine. Yeah, well, as far as the National Hockey League, when I came into the league in 1958, there were only 6 teams. There's 31 teams now, and next year with the inclusion of Seattle, there's going to be 32. It has come a long ways in the past 31 years. Everybody that I've talked to has said that the commissioner has done just a fantastic job. Some of the rules and regulations that have been made, it's made the game more exciting for the fans, and I just think that we can just keep working forward, and hopefully there's going to be more teams, coming from not only Canada and United States, but from overseas. So we work together and work hard.
I think also, Ron,
yeah, go ahead.
Ron, I was just going to say that, kids can follow the Color of Hockey on the NHL website, where William Douglas often will tell stories about players of all different backgrounds. I mean, we don't talk about it enough. And I even think in the women's game, when we talk about Sarah Nurse or Blake Bolden, and then on the men's side, you have players like the Robertson brothers who are Filipino, or you have Austin Matthews, who is half Mexican. So all of these stories, we need to find a better way to continue to share those stories, because the game is diverse. We just have to share those stories a lot more and tell those stories. And Willie, as a trailblazer, you also think about people like Fred Sasakamoose, who just passed away, right, of Indigenous origin. So I think these stories, we just need to continue to do a good job of sharing them and educating.
And Sarah, because if we don't have that, if we don't have Fred Sasakamoose and George Armstrong and Jim Nielsen, we've lost all three great Indigenous ambassadors for the game. You're invisible. Sarah Nurse can be as good as she wants to be, but nobody will think of her. And for the longest time, Sarah, like Blake Bolden, wasn't given a shot. Right, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there are definitely difficulties and challenges and different barriers in the hockey community. And I think that our community as a whole are really working to break those barriers down. I think that we've come so far. I look at obviously Mr. Willie O'Ree, who was breaking barriers ever since he sat in his barbershop chair in Fredericton, New Brunswick all those years ago, right? So he's been breaking barriers for years and years, and now it's our turn. And now this generation can continue to do that, so that the future generations of people who look like us will have the opportunities that we love to see.
Willie, this one comes from Prince Edward Island, and PEI, you just scream into the microphone if in fact you have designated somebody, but I have the question for Willie from the island. You see, oh, good. Looks like someone's come to the microphone. Go ahead. Introduce yourself maybe and ask your question for Willie from PEI.
I'm Taryn, and what fears were you feeling or facing when you played your first NHL game? Do you remember anyone who was kind to you?
Well, no, all my teammates were kind to me, and I just the one thing I kept in my mind is I just wanted to play a good game and represent the hockey club to the best of my ability. I thought sometimes of failing, but if you feel within your heart, within your mind, and set goals for yourself, those things there can overcome anything. So. We were very fortunate to beat Montreal that night. We shut them out. And that was a feat in itself, beating the Montreal Canadiens in the old Montreal Forum. And it was it was a great feeling. And I'll always remember that first game.
And I'll always remember your first interview with Ward Cornell on Hockey Night in Canada. Students, Google that. If you haven't seen Willie, I tell you, what a cool customer. Okay, to Alberta we go. And this is a question from Alexa. So Alexa, you make your way to there you are. Go ahead, Alexa.
Tansei, have you ever felt like such an outsider that you just wanted to disappear?
No, I just felt that I was a hockey player. I looked beyond the color of my skin. I was just another hockey player that the Bruins brought up, and Coach Mill Schmidt and General Manager Lynn Patrick said to me, Willie, you're just another Bruins. Just go out and play your sport, work hard, and don't let anything else bother you. And basically, that's what I did, and I had the confidence of my teammates and the coach and general manager.
Great question. To British Columbia, just on the other side of the Rockies, Sarah Nurse, this one's going to be to you from our Bear Creek Classroom Champions. This is a great question, Sarah. I think you'll enjoy this. Go ahead, please identify yourself and ask your question.
My name is Amreen, and my question for you is, our Bear Creek Classroom Champions mentor, Bailey Bram, played with you when she won an Olympic silver medal in 2018. She shared her insights and experience with us. How did you recenter yourself after the Olympics and prepare to play for your next games?
Well, I firstly want to say that you guys were so lucky to have Bailey Bram as one of your ambassadors, because she is an incredible teammate and somebody who I call her sunshine. Like, she's just an absolute ray of sunshine. So you're definitely very lucky to have her. But I think coming back after the Olympics, obviously that's such a huge high. You're playing on the biggest stage in the world. We came back with a silver medal. And so you're so incredibly excited. But to me, I approach the Olympics just like it was any other game. I'm so focused on preparation. And I believe that to perform your best every single game, every single practice, you need to prepare and you need to go into it with the same mentality that if it was a gold medal game. So for me coming back, it was kind of business as usual, because I prepared for that gold medal game the exact same as I would prepare for a Wednesday night hockey game or a tournament hockey game, because I'm always preparing for that gold medal game. So I believe that preparation is so important, and that consistency is definitely key. And that's something that I've taken in my hockey career, but also in my school career. If I know that if I study hard, if I ask questions, if I do little things and have good habits in the classroom, that's going to result in good grades and success in the classroom. And so that's definitely something that I've taken with me for my life.
Fantastic, Sarah. Thank you, Bear Creek. Keep up the great work with your classroom champions. Saskatchewan, we're heading over to Saskatchewan, and Willie, you can add to what Sarah said if you want, but here comes a question for you as a student makes their way to the camera and to the microphone.
Right here? Yep.
There you are. Yes, we got you. Silhouetted. You're like in the witness protection program, but we see you there. That's good.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Joe, and I want to know for Willie, what kept you going through all that you went through?
Well, I believe it was my confidence and pride within myself. As Ron mentioned, when I was 14, I set 2 goals for myself and worked towards them. Kept focused what I wanted to do and worked hard. And as I mentioned, there's no substitute for hard work. And then when I played pro in 1956 and then when I put the Bruins in 1958, I had attained the 2 goals that I had set for myself. But I even set goals for myself today. And I'm, going on, I'm 85 years old and still working for the National Hockey League. And, there's no age where you can say you can't set goals for yourself. You just have to believe and work hard and stay focused on what you want to do.
Willie, one thing the students, I got to be careful with this question, but you broke a kid's collarbone. You were so strong. You were such you were a physical competitive player, and you were cut from your high school team because you were too strong for the program. I guess what the teacher or the coach thought. But you didn't let that setback end it for you. You went and found a place to play, and you even as a young man played senior hockey in Fredericton. So I mean, sometimes you get those setbacks early that if you don't stick with it, right?
No, you just have to stay focused and believe in yourself. It's so very true.
It's funny because I broke my collarbone 3 times as a young boy. So I wonder if those 3 guys ended up playing in the NHL. That's what I think happened. So Newfoundland and Labrador. Let's flip across the country to Newfoundland and Labrador and see who we have here. Please introduce yourself. Thank you for turning on the mic. And go ahead, young man. Who are you and what's your question for Willie?
I'm Cohen, and I have a question for Willie. Who was your biggest supporter and motivator for becoming the first Black person to play in the NHL?
Well, I have 3. Actually, I have my mom and dad, and then I have my older brother, Richard, who was not only my brother and my friend, but he was my mentor. And they kept the support that I needed all through my hockey career. And I can honestly say that I have to give a tremendous amount of credit to my brother, Richard, who taught me a lot of things that I would need to know if I was going to play in the National Hockey League. And as I said, I was able to stay focused and play pro hockey for 21 years.
Patricia Kasapowicz. This is going to be a nice treat for me because as I looked at the names, and I'm sorry, Brittany, I didn't get the pronunciation on Brittany. I wish I had. I didn't think of it. But in Patricia's case, I looked at the last name, and I grew up in Alberta, so we have lots of great Ukrainian names. And I thought this can't be that difficult. But her husband was kind enough to put an audio clip together for me to get the pronunciation. She is a teacher at Pine Ridge Middle School in the Annapolis Valley. And hi, Patricia. Lovely to meet you in person here now.
Hi.
And thank
Nice
you
to
for,
meet you too.
You're going to be the swan song questionnaire. So what would you like to do?
Well, my school has been working on including social emotional learning every day this year. And we're using this Zoom experience to kick off a month of African heritage activities by following the theme, Be Like O'Ree. So we decorated our class bulletin board with the slogan, Be Like O'Ree, and we made mini Boston hockey jerseys with characteristics and quotes that we feel describe what we've already learned about Willie. So, and I have a student here who has a question that she's dying to ask.
Hey, Madeline, that's you, right?
Yeah.
Hello, Madeline.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Madeline et je viens du Pine Ridge Middle School en Nouvelle-Écosse. Mr. O'Ree, you've been interviewed a lot throughout your life. So what is one question you've never been asked that you've always wanted to answer?
Well, I don't really have a question. I've been asked so many questions, you know, through my hockey career. But if you have a question, then you'd like to.
I have one. I have one that Madeline might find interesting, Willie, and you can't answer it. But it is the one question you've never had answered, and that is how your great-great-grandfather Paris got to Fredericton, right? The fact that he escaped. That's true. We see in the documentary the incredible story of Paris Horry. But I think the children, you know, Mr. Trudeau's father, Pierre Elliott, became prime minister in '68. Well, he got the leadership of the Liberal Party at the same time as Martin Luther King Jr. was being assassinated. That happened April 4th, and 3 days later, Pierre Elliott Trudeau takes over as leader of the Liberals, and it was a big upset. So it's a momentous moment in history, is my point. And your story is a momentous story. I know you're a hockey player, but I bet you would love to know more about Paris, and I know you think about him all the time.
Yes, Ron, and you know, I got the information when I got together with Brian McBride and Lawrence Mabey, you know, who made the documentary, and we went down to South Carolina and visited the place where they keep all the records, and I was astounded by the information that I found for the first time in my life, reading about you know, Paris and the families, and then how they migrated to Canada through the Underground Railroad. So it's an amazing story, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity if I hadn't got together with Brian.
If I could add, Ron, I mean,
go ahead, please.
It was a momentous day when we went into those archives, and big kudos to Laurence Mathieu-Leger, who really dug into the research and figured that out. It was a story that was untold, and it's one of many stories in the film. There's threads throughout the film that talks about Canada and the U.S., men and, you know, young girls and boys playing the game, all of the strife that Willie went through, that's still, a lot of it's still going on now. Kids are still being called names on the ice, right? These are things that have to change and that we're working to change. But the thread of Paris O'Ree in particular, at a time where immigration was such a hot topic, I mean, that's really immigration, escaping from slavery. That's as hard as it gets in terms of immigration. So the sinew that Paris had, that got passed right down to Willie is apparent.
And the generosity. Yeah, go ahead. Who's in, please?
Yeah, it's Mo, Ron. I was just gonna say too, to add to that, right? What Willie talked about was family. All you boys and girls across Canada, I mean, look around you and find those people that are going to support you along your way, because you all have an untold story, right? You all have a story that you need to tell and that you want to tell, and find those people that are around you, the way that, you know, Sarah and myself and Bryant and Ron and Brittany have been inspired by Willie. Find those people around you that are going to support you to get your untold story out there, right? Because you are going to get further if you do that. If you, whether it's family members or teachers or coaches, don't disappear. Okay, you gotta push forward, and that's what Willie's doing at the age of 85, right? So I think it's about that untold story. Let's continue to tell your stories.
And Ron, if I may, that, you know, those untold stories are being facilitated and getting a platform to be told. You know, we had great partners who made today happen. The folks at Canadian Tire who helped Mo's program in such a significant way, and so many more, especially during COVID. You know, our friends there have been unbelievable supporters, and, you know, big thanks to them too for being such an important part of this day and all of the days that kids are able to play.
Right, to the PMO, the Prime Minister's office, and the Prime Minister himself, to the NHL, to Canadian Star Jumpstart, to Hockey for Youth, to the Willie Doc team, to Classroom Champions. Mo, I'll end with this, because we just did that question from Pine Ridge Middle School, which is on the Bay of Fundy at Kingston, the Annapolis Valley. Patricia, you'll be interested to know, and Mo, you will. When my father died, I was doing Rogers Hometown Hockey in Wolfville, Nova Scotia at Acadia University. The day before I left for Wolfville, my father was hospitalized, and we knew, you know, the end was near. I read this to him. This is the story of Evangeline. It's a story set in the Annapolis Valley. It's the story of the Acadians being evicted. Jean Beliveau's family was evicted from what was called Port Royal, Annapolis Royal. So that's a very special memory I have of my father and my Nova Scotia roots. So I'm glad, Patricia, you and the middle school are honoring Willie in that brilliant way with all those sweaters. Can't say more than that. Let's show you the website, lessonsfromwillie.ca. Lessonsfromwillie.ca. This program is yours in perpetuity, thanks to Mr. O'Ree, and thanks to you all. I will say merci beaucoup, miigwech, thank you. Hope you enjoyed today. Let's all wave to the camera and get a nice composite of everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody wave and just show all of the country the fun that you've had.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Willie. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.